Welcome to the From Scratch Body. I'm Liv, and today I'm gonna rap for you guys. We're gonna make TikTok raps. You may have seen this trend on TikTok or YouTube Shorts or some other place where you watch cooking online. It's a very, very lovely, simple trick to make some nice toasted tortilla wraps. And basically, it's very easy. You take a tortilla. You can make your own tortillas from scratch. I have a recipe on my website, the From Scratch Body, so you can learn how to make your own tortillas. These are bought from a shop. These are all from Sainsbury's. I have a plain flour tortilla here, and then I have a few wholemeal tortillas as well, so you can kind of mix and match a bit. So I'm going to do 4 different ideas for you today. So I've got for my breakfast, lunch, and dinner wraps, I've got wholemeal, and then for the dessert one, we're going to go super naughty with the plain wheat tortilla. And basically the concept of this trend is you take the tortilla, you cut, you can use a knife obviously, but it's quite fun to use a pair of scissors. You just cut into the tortilla into the middle like this. You put whatever filling you want on the tortilla, divide it into sections 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you take this fold and go 1, 2, 3. You toast this with no oil or anything in the pan, gently on both sides. And then you let it cool for a bit. And then you can just easily eat it, holding it in your hands. It's lovely and toasted, so everything stays in place. All of the ingredients are lovely and warm and melted inside. So it's perfect for a bit of cheese and stuff like that. So if you already know the technique, you may have seen some of the filling ideas, but it's often just tons of cheese and a bit of ham, or it's, Nutella and banana. And I think that with this lovely technique and how versatile a wheat tortilla is, we don't really need to limit ourselves to things that are just so simple or maybe not so healthy. So I wanted to give some tips that are a little bit more versatile today. And just to show you, I'm doing a breakfast, lunch, dinner, and dessert wrap, just to show you all the different ways that you can wrap a wheat tortilla or a wholemeal tortilla, as I'm doing for 3 out of the 4. So we're going to start with breakfast. For my breakfast filling, I've got a fried egg, a little bit of cheddar cheese, some cherry tomatoes, and a little bit of avocado. One thing to think about is that when you toast this wrap, not every side is going to be equal in terms of heat. If you start wrapping it from the bottom left, which is what I naturally do, and then go clockwise, I go, let's say that this is side 1, 1, 2, 3, and 4, you will see that side 3 and 4 are going to be the outside of the wrap, meaning they're going to be right on the pan. They're going to be the hottest. It's just something to think about. Let me just show you. So 1 goes on to 2, and then they both go on to 3 and 4. So you see 3 and 4 are going to be right on the pan. So knowing that, you can use that to your advantage and put the stuff that you are most eager to get melted and hot, like for instance cheese, on side 3 and 4, because they're going to get the warmest. So you can obviously grate the cheese, but it's just as easy to kind of just crumble it up with your hands. Then the egg, I'm going to put that on number 3, fits perfectly. Whereas the avocado, you don't really want to, it's fine that it gets warm, but you don't really want to overheat the avocado because it's kind of nicest when it's raw, in my opinion. So put that on side 2, and then some tomato. You can kind of just go everywhere. You might want to season it a bit. What I've already done with the egg as I was frying it is I put a bit of black pepper and some dried chili on it, so that's kind of seasoned already. I'm not going to add any salt because I'm trying to have the least possible amount of salt. But I am going to add a bit of green Tabasco, which is super tasty, a very mild Tabasco that I just love on breakfast stuff. So just a few drops of that all over. Let's wrap. So you can see there's not tons of stuff on here, but as you begin to wrap it, you see that it does fill up a lot. So you don't really want to overfill it. This is perfect in terms of amount of food in here. So then you put it in the pan. Depending on what tortillas you use, you might want to just run them in the microwave for 20-30 seconds before. I did that today because they become a bit more soft and easy to kind of fold and mold in your hands, because if you fold in the sides a little bit, then you can really control the wrap so that everything stays inside. Let's toast this baby. You kind of want to squeeze it down a little bit with your hand so that it's kind of nice and well placed in the pan. And do keep an eye on it because it does toast pretty quickly and suddenly you've kind of gone too far. So you can start with high heat and then turn it down a tiny bit and keep a good eye on it, and make sure that you flip it after maybe 30 seconds or a little bit more. Right, I'm gonna flip this baby over. So it's not too toasted, it's not going too dark, but I can feel that it's like nice and hard. It's kind of holding everything in place. So I want that on the other side as well. And now we've got it lovely and toasted on both sides. Our first wrap. It's kind of nice and hard on the sides and everything is staying in place. You've got the avocado, you've got the egg in there. Yeah, that's perfect. So the cheese is gently melted. Some of the tomato that I put on the side 3 and 4 have kind of got hot as well. Whereas the avocado is warm, but it's not like completely melted. So that's really lovely. So tasty. Oh, it's amazing with just a tiny bit of cheese in there. It's so good. Obviously, this is a veggie version. You can super easily make this vegan or add meat. You know, there's all these different things that you can do. You can do scrambled tofu. You can also do scrambled egg. If you have a tiny bit leftover scrambled eggs or you just make a tiny amount, you can put that in there. You can put vegan cheese in there if you want. In terms of meat, you obviously can add some bacon. You can also fry a few bits of pancetta and mix it in with the egg so it sticks to the egg. That way it doesn't fall out of the tortilla as easy as well. So all these different things that you can do, lovely for breakfast, on to lunch. What I want to do today is a Turkish inspired lunch. So this, you can do some feta cheese or some halloumi, or in my case, you can do both. So I'm just crumbling up some feta cheese. I'm putting that on the left side for me because I don't really need the feta cheese to melt massively. I've got some already fried halloumi. So I'm going to put that all over this side because it's kind of nice to warm those up again. Some olives, which is just so lovely with this cheese. Some cucumber for a bit of a lovely green crunch. And drizzling over some honey. I have a local cafe that does like amazing Turkish lunches and breakfasts, and they've kind of inspired this one. So a little bit of honey all over it. It's just so lovely with the salty halloumi and the feta, and it all just goes together perfectly. So this is a really nice lunch. I'm using a local honey, so if any of you, because spring can be pretty intense for people who have allergies, but I read that if you try and consume some local honey, that is meant to help you. So I've done that for the last 3-4 weeks, and it seems to kind of be helping me. So I've got the pan going here again, and we're going to fold 1, 2, 3. This one's pretty full. So as you can see, you don't need a lot of ingredients to really fill these up. I think lunch for me is like the perfect time to have one of these wraps, because if you just have a tiny bit left over from dinner last night, but you don't really have enough leftovers to make just a plate of what you had yesterday, if you just have some little bits, just put it in a wrap and it's suddenly a proper lunch. Now these are just some ideas of what you can put in them. With the Turkish lunch, you know, what would be really nice as well is to drizzle a bit of coriander on top of that cheese and the olives and stuff. You can season it as you wish, but remember that halloumi is often quite salty, so you probably don't need to add any salt. There is so much you can do. You know, if you just have some small bits of veg left over, if you have a tiny bit of cucumber and a tiny bit of a red pepper and some little bits and bobs, if you add them in to a wrap, it suddenly becomes like a really exciting, nice little crunchy meal. There we go. That's our lunch. So you got the halloumi in there, you've got the cucumber, feta, everything is really nice and warm. The honey has spread all over it. Let's make some dinner. Our dinner wrap is kind of Italian inspired. We've got some chicken, which I'm going to put on the right side here so that it gets warm when we toast it. We have some sun-dried tomatoes. And we have spinach. And spinach is quite nice. Lettuce is okay too for these wraps. But the great thing about spinach is that it offers a bit of like green crunchiness, but it also deals with heat really well because obviously you cook with spinach and it's nice when it's warm as well. So that's why I love putting spinach on these. I'm also going to add a bit of Parmesan. So all over the right side so that it melts, and all over the left side because Parmesan, you know. You can add some oregano. Or if you have an Italian spice mix, herb mix, that kind of thing, that's perfect too. But I just love oregano so much. I've chosen, you know, Italian as a bit of inspiration, but just think about if you have, you know, some ingredients and there's a cuisine that you really love, like Mexican or Thai or, you know, Vietnamese food or Chinese food, you can just think of something that inspires you, something that you really love in terms of flavors, in terms of spices, and pretty much the sky's the limit. You can decide what you put in them. And with these tortillas, they're not very intrusive in their flavors. So anything kind of goes in there. And also so easy if you just need to make something quick. If you come home from work and you are, you know, super hungry and you just want something really quick, it's perfect for that. It's like a minute or two in the pan and we're done. So that's going to join our lunch wrap there. Let's open this one up actually. The chicken is definitely warm. I mean, obviously cooked chicken, you don't want to put raw chicken in there or any raw meat. It needs to be cooked already because it's not going to be that thoroughly cooked. But the spinach is not melted, you know, it's a little bit warm but not melted. So the left side definitely does not get as hot as the right. So it's just something to use to your advantage. And these two sides become much harder, and that is that lovely shell in which you have all of your food securely kept so that you can eat it just like that. I'm not going to eat it yet. Let's save it. Our final wrap is our dessert wrap. Yay! And it's not even that unhealthy. What we're going to do is we're going to grate some dark cooking chocolate. If you grate it, it's going to melt really quickly. So we're grating it all over this right side here. And maybe a little bit on the left side as well, because if it doesn't melt, it's still delicious. Adding some homemade peanut butter. When you're doing the dessert one, none of this really needs to melt, but it's just lovely when you warm it up. And also, having said this, you don't have to toast them. You know, none of this needs to be toasted in order to be able to eat it. You can just warm it up in the microwave, fill it with whatever you want, use the wrapping technique, and then eat it. But I really do recommend toasting it because it adds so much to the flavor. So with some chocolate and some peanut butter, we're adding some strawberry slices and some banana slices. You can add some jam as well. Peanut butter and jam is obviously very, very nice. But for me, I think that sweet fruit is more than enough and it's so lovely with the peanut butter. So let's toast our dessert. You can do the same thing with pancakes. So, you know, for pancake day, you can have breakfast, lunch, dinner and dessert, all pancakes. Just use the same folding technique. Again, you can add some honey on top of that or some maple syrup if you want to go really sweet. There's just no end to what you can do. Just go with your tastes, just what you find exciting. Our final one, joining the breakfast, lunch, dinner and dessert wrap. As promised, I would love to hear your ideas. What have you filled these wraps with? Do you find the technique easy to do? Or do you have a different wrapping technique? Tell me in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe for more of this. Well, I've got a lot of work to do, so I'll see you later.